Prynawn da, croeso I cyfarfod dioci cig i'r ddod. Good afternoon, welcome to the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council Annual General Meeting of Wednesday, 17th of May 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, before turning to the agenda for this evening, I would like to call upon my chaplain, the Reverend Caroline Owen, to open the meeting with prayer.
Of our community, in your own image. We thank you for the calling you have given every one of us to be good stewards of your creation, to love our neighbours as ourselves. Help us to remember that we are here not to be served, but to serve. Grant us light to know the needs of our community and strength to make wise decisions for the benefit of all. May we honour one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Please be seated. Okay, agenda item number 1, apologies for absence. Democratic Services, have any apologies been received? Thank you, Mayor. Agenda item number 2, declarations of interest. Are there any members who need to or would like to make a declaration of interest? Okay, nobody's indicating. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 3, formal election of the Mayor 2023-2024. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of the Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil 2023-2024. I call on the leader, Councillor Geraint Thomas, to propose the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Distinguished guests, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the Council to nominate Councillor Malcolm Colburn for the office of Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil for an extraordinary second time. Malcolm was elected to represent the Blaenau Ward in May 2017 and has worked hard for his community through very difficult times. He started a school uniform exchange service, Merthyr Kids Count, Children's Games Night and the Summer of Fun. He restarted the Blaenau Remembrance Parade, set up the community cinema and a litter picking hub with Keep Wales Tidy. Through the pandemic, he shopped for people who were isolating, delivered food, well-being parcels and helped businesses with grant application. His dedication has been exemplary. Malcolm has a good year up to now, watching his beloved Brighton and Hove Albion football club having the best ever season. He also has a great love of music, with his favourite musician being the boss, Bruce Springsteen, who we recently saw live in Paris, a first for me and Councillor Michelle Jones, but the 112th time for Malcolm. While we were there, we visited the Louvre and the Musée d'Orsay, where Malcolm saw for the first time Le Pie. No, not a steak and kidney variety made by the famous Thomases, pie manufacturers of Merthyr Tydfil, but a beautiful painting by Monet, his favourite. It was a trip that I will treasure. In 2021, I seconded the motion for Malcolm to become Mayor, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the year in office was blighted. I feel, and I hope you all agree, that Malcolm didn't have the same equal opportunity as many councillors have had in the past, and deserves another chance to wear our borough's chain of office. Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the Council, I recommend Councillor Malcolm Colburn as a fit and proper person to discharge the duties of Mayor of the County of Merthyr Tydfil, and so I move.
Thank you, Leader. I call on Councillor Michelle Simmons to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Distinguished guests, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the Council to second Councillor Malcolm Colburn for the office of Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil. For 16 years, 2003 to 2019, he served his local village of Bedlinog as postmaster and is still extremely well respected in his local community, having started his councillor journey in 2017. Testament to his reputation and trust of colleagues, Councillor Colbrand served the borough as mayor for the year 2021-2022. However, his experience was hindered amid the pandemic recovery. Our paths first crossed in the summer of 2021, where I volunteered to help with his sport and games night for the young people in the village, an extremely popular and well-attended weekly activity with not just the young people, but the parents too. Spring forward to March 2022, and I was invited to meet Malcolm for a coffee. I just thought it was to discuss the plans for games night for the upcoming summer. Before I left for the meeting, my husband said, "Please don't take anything else on, just say no." Quite clearly, I didn't say no, as I wouldn't have the pleasure of making this nomination this evening. During the past 18 months, I have very quickly seen his compassion to help people and how very well thought of and respected Malcolm is by residents, fellow members and officers. I couldn't have asked for a better mentor, advocate and supporter. Additionally, his council acumen is testament to why we nominate Councillor Colbrand this evening. Mr Mayor, I second the motion by the leader, Councillor Geraint Thomas, and Councillor Malcolm Colbrand is elected as Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil 2023 to 2024, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle Simmons. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the motion? Okay, nobody indicating. I'll put the motion to the council.
Thank you. And if everybody could vote on their console, I will need to ask Councillor Williams-Price, are you voting for, against or abstaining, please?
For.
Thank you. So can I ask, firstly, Councillor John Thomas, are you voting for, against or abstaining? Councillor Malcolm Colbrand. Thank you. Councillor Paula Layton. Thank you. And Mr Mayor.
For.
Thank you. And then that's carried, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Monitoring Officer. I believe this is where I give my retiring mayor's address. I promise not to keep you too long. Okay. Distinguished guests, fellow councillors, officers of the council, ladies and gentlemen. I am very proud and extremely honoured to have been elected as Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil in 2022, and I'm hugely grateful for the support and confidence offered by my fellow councillors while I carried out this important role. I have tried my best to represent all 30 of us, the local authority and the residents of the borough. I've had many personal highlights over the last 12 months, but to keep my speech to a respectable time, I'm not going to go into detail. I will, however, put together a photographic journal highlighting and detailing all my mental experiences during the exceptional year I've had, and which I will share with anyone who's interested. I have, however, got some more people I'd like to thank. Firstly, to all those people I met while in the role of Mayor of Merthyr Tydfil, every single one of you, unique and wonderful, everyone with their own stories to tell. It was a pleasure to meet you all, and I wish you all the very best in your lives going forward. The whole of the Comms and the Democratic Services Department for their support and help over the last 12 months. Everything from a monitor to help me work in the Mayor's Parlour, late invites for Teams meetings when something clashed with mayoral duties, help with speeches, photographs, advice, and a whole lot more. Thank you very much. Thank you to Caris, Simon and Ellis for your support and advice during full council meetings. It has been invaluable, and sometimes your reassuring presence has been enough. Dennis Foley, the Mayor's driver, for his punctuality and always getting me to my destination on time. His conversations in the car and his patience at sometimes having to wait around for a very long time for me to finish an engagement. I've got something for him. The Reverend Caroline Owen, the Mayor's chaplain, who has, as always, been amazing. The Reverend has attended events, filled in on a couple of occasions when needed, and who has been extremely understanding of my lateness in replying to her messages, and also with me not being able to put an article together for the latest church magazine. Sorry, Reverend, and thank you for your understanding and for being there, because I knew that if I had an issue, I could have approached you. I've got something for you as well. Reverend, thank you. Jane Overbury, Mayor's PA. Let's be honest, Jane is the unsung hero behind the Mayor's role. Her planning and organising events is in line with military precision, hence the name Sergeant Major Overbury. Always available to be contacted if I needed to check on details of an event, and her dedication of her role evident by the messages I would sometimes receive asking how an event went. I'm not sure if she was also checking to make sure I hadn't messed up. Nothing is ever too much trouble for Jane. If I needed something for an event, or if I needed to arrange an event at short notice, it was done. No fuss, everything just done. Thank you so much, Jane. Amazing. Don't normally get emotional. Right. Lastly, I have to thank my consort Paula for her understanding of how important the role of mayor was to me, and how the role took over our lives for the last 12 months. The role required sacrifices, which she accepted, which doesn't mean that she didn't shout at me. If I didn't have Paula beside me, I probably would have ended up going to events dressed in jeans and t-shirt. Paula colour coordinated the 5 suits bought for my role as mayor, with shoes, shirts and ties, and just made sure I was presentable. Being colourblind is really difficult. Your help to me and your dedication to the role as mayor's consort was nothing short of first class, and I'm forever grateful. Thank you, Paula.
There's my present.
May I also congratulate my colleague Malcolm Colburn on being appointed to the role of mayor. I wish him all the very best for this forthcoming year of office. And I'd just like to pass on 2 valuable pieces of advice that I've learned over the last 12 months. This isn't just for Malcolm, but any future mayors. If you need glasses to read your speech, make sure you bring them with you. And 2, don't deviate from your written speech. There aren't many people who have the gift of being able to make it up as they go along. Thank you, everyone.
With your past mayor's medallion. Mayor, I would like to present your consort, Councillor Paula Layton, with her past consort's pendant.
Here's my present.
Thank you, Simon. Okay, agenda item number 4, appointment of the Deputy Mayor 2023-2024. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of the Deputy Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil 2023-2024. I call on the Deputy Leader, Councillor Andrew Barry, to propose the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Distinguished guests, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the council to nominate Councillor John Thomas for the office of Deputy Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil. John was elected to represent the Town Ward 2017, a lifelong friend of mine. We bumped into each other whilst taxiing outside Tesco in 2016, where he said, "You're standing for the council in the next election," to which I said, "Am I?" And then the journey began to get us to this point where I have the greatest privilege of nominating you and Deb for Deputy Mayor and Mayoress. John is in the mould of the Valley's working class here, like so many of Merthyr's sons and daughters throughout the generations. He started on the bread, Merthyr Engineering, Granger's Engineering, Merthyr Electroplating, and then Hoover's. 20 years after walking into the job, John left for the last time in 1998. That saw the beginning of John and Deb's time in the licensed trade. The Brunswick, Spite, Mount, and always working with the great public of Merthyr Tydfil. John continued in that vein while working on the taxis. Or was it 30 years now, John? Yeah. 4 children, Gareth, Emma, Nathan and Rachel, and their husband and wives and partners, Gemma, Andrew, Lauren and Big Jordan. Their 9 grandkids, Jack, Will, Ethan, Leah, Joe, Isabel, Florence, Jade, Nancy. I'm just thinking of the council tax, Steve, that they're all generating in this family for us in years to come. Gareth, his eldest son, wrote a few words on behalf of the family, and with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I'll just read a few of those out. Having a father like ours is honestly a blessing. He's hardworking, humble, kind, generous, and willing to help family, friends, and anyone else at the drop of a hat. Since we got older and started having responsibilities ourselves, that realization of just how much Dad sacrificed for us has resonated. What Dad doesn't realize is just how proud of him and his achievements we as siblings really are. Alongside our mother, they've instilled in us what makes us all such a close family unit. Most of all, we're proud he's our father. John, as many of you will know, has been quite a successful referee in his time, reaching the dizzy heights of linesman at the League of Wales, and has indeed these skills at 15-15, which we are going to utilise in the coming years. Mr. Mayor, it is a privilege and an honour to nominate my friend and town ward colleague on behalf of the council to recommend to you Councillor John Thomas as a fit and proper person to discharge the duties of Deputy Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil for 2023-24. And I have the greatest of pleasure in moving the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Andrew Barry. I call on Councillor Julia Jenkins to second the motion.
Distinguished guests, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the council to second Councillor John Thomas for the office of Deputy Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil. There is little more to add to what Councillor Andrew Barry has said, other than I've also known John for many years, lived close by him and his family. John is very well known and respected in our local community, and through his work and social life is also well known and liked around the Merthyr Borough. His commitment to family, friends, neighbours, acquaintances and colleagues is second to none. I know he would carry out the position of Deputy Mayor with dignity, enthusiasm and commitment, as will his wife Debbie as Deputy Mayoress. Mr. Mayor, I second the motion by Councillor Andrew Barry that Councillor John Thomas is elected a Deputy Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil 2023 to 2025. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Julia Jenkins. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the motion? Councillor Clive Jones.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move an amendment to the motion. And as a result, I'd like to say a few words. Mr. Mayor, distinguished guests and fellow councillors, on behalf of the opposition Labour group, it gives me great pleasure to nominate my Labour colleague, Councillor Louise Minette-Vokes, for the position of the Deputy Mayor, Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council, for the municipal year 23-24. Louise will be the first female councillor to be proposed as Deputy Mayor since 2015-16. Louise was first elected in May 2022 and has lived in Merthyr Tydfil all her life, and during the last year has worked tremendously to become an efficient and effective advocate for the Park Board residents, giving 100% commitment to the role. Her working career has seen Louise involved in nursing, supporting people with mental health needs, dealing with street homelessness, and is currently working with the domestic abuse, victims of domestic abuse. Louise has 2 children, James at 8 and Emily, aged 18, who is currently the Lord Lieutenant's Cadet for Merthyr Tydfil. As well as dealing with all aspects of her new role as a councillor, Louise and family have had to support her husband Rhys in the last year with a cancer diagnosis and receiving intensive chemotherapy, which thankfully had a successful outcome. Louise has also, during the last 12 months, utilised her vast experience in chairing the Social Services Scrutiny Committee with the usual competency and robustness the position deserves. Mr. Mayor, I have no hesitation in moving the amendment and supporting Councillor Louise Minette-Vaux for the position of Deputy Mayor for the municipal year 23-24.
Thank you, Councillor Clive Jones. Do we have a seconder for this? Councillor Brent Carter.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to cover a few things which Councillor Jones has possibly already covered, so please bear with me. I consider this an honour and a privilege to second the nomination for Councillor Louise Minette-Vaux, the position of Deputy Mayor for the 2023-24 calendar year. Louise and all her family have lived in Merthyr Tydfil their whole lives, and she's married to Rhys and has two lovely children, Emily and James. This leads me on to Louise herself. I've known Louise for a relatively short period of time, roughly 2 years, but my gut from day one knew that Louise was a special person, unique. I'm sure we have all experienced that feeling. When you know what's right. This has led us to forming an excellent working relationship, but more important than that, a great friendship and bond, something I couldn't be happier about. Louise got elected in May 2022, and I'm sure I speak for everyone in the Labour group when I say what an amazing acquisition she is. Louise is talented, committed, speaks with intelligence, and her views and opinions are always measured and delivered in a first-class manner. For me, it is vital as elected members, we must have balance and equality. Louise is a strong and powerful female, and we must remember that this authority hasn't had a female mayor since Margaret Davis. Surely now is the time to address this misbalance. And I call upon everyone here tonight to do the right and honourable thing and support Louise. I'm sure we have female members here who must agree with those sentiments. Since elected, Louise has served her community with passion and vigour and brings a breath of fresh air and new life to the authority and this chamber. She is not afraid to speak her mind, express her views and challenge accordingly. This is evident in full council meetings, and I certainly see this as chair of corporate support and resources scrutiny. However, let's not forget Louise before she was elected. She has worked in frontline services, which Councillor Clive Jones has touched upon, ranging from street homelessness, substance abuse, mental health and domestic abuse. We're talking here about a selfless lady who puts others before herself, a quality we can all look at and admire. Louise does when others just talk. Fundamentally, Louise took the brave decision to stand for election in May 2022 because she had first-hand experience of how poor decision-making at Westminster directly affected the people and communities we live in. This inspired her to stand up, get active and more involved in our local government, and the past year has shown what a difference this inspirational lady can make. Louise won't mind me for saying this, but people may think, she looks different. Look at her pink hair and nose piercing. But let's not forget what's inside the lady. It's something very special and worth bottling. Being different isn't wrong. It's right on so many levels. We need to embrace and encourage everyone in our communities. If we all learned a little from Louise, our town and indeed the world would be a much better place. Speaking to Louise only last night, she was keen to tell me, Brent, I know I have a different look and I've never felt like I've fitted in anywhere before, but I've truly fitted in with the Labour group in Merthyr, and that for me is very special. Hearing this made my heart sink, but also swell with pride, because you're our Louise. What I and others would say is we as a group, Park Ward, local authority in the whole of Merthyr Tydfil are lucky to have you as a councillor. In closing, for me, and certainly for the Labour group, we wholeheartedly support Louise for the position of Deputy Mayor, as I can't think of another person better qualified to fulfil the position and then to become our first citizen. Louise would be a great ambassador and would ensure that Merthyr Tydfil would be seen as a beacon of light and hope for every single individual within our community. I hear second the motion. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bright Carter. I think normally we ask if there's any more comments from members, but I think it was agreed before and that if an amendment was made that we would just stick to what has been made already. So if I believe I now put this motion to the council.
To the vote.
Yeah.
So if everybody can vote on their console, but then I will ask those members who can't vote by console. So you are voting on the amendment. You are voting for, against, or abstaining in respect of the amendment itself. So can I ask first, Councillor Williams-Price, are you voting for, against, or abstaining? For. Thank you. Councillor John Thomas, are you for, against, or abstaining? Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Colbran? Thank you. Councillor Paula Layton? Against. Thank you. Councillor Declan Salmon?
Against.
Thank you. Yes, so is that everybody? Is that all? Yes. So we have voting in favour of the amendment, we have 15. Voting against the amendment, we have 15. And so, Mr. Mayor, would you like to cast your casting vote?
Yes.
And on that basis, the amendment falls. And therefore, I understand we will, if we can clear the voting screen, we will go straight to the vote on the substantive motion, which was the proposal of Councillor John Thomas as Deputy Mayor. And if I can ask everybody to cast their votes on their console for that, and then I'll go through asking those who can't vote on the console. So Councillor Williams-Price, are you voting for, against, or abstaining? Against. Thank you. Councillor John Thomas? Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Colbran? Thank you. Councillor Paula Layton? Thank you. And Councillor Declan Salmon? Thank you. Just make sure we've got everybody's votes. Or are we missing Matthew? We've got everybody now? That's correct. So that is 15-15. So again, Mr. Mayor, could you cast your casting vote?
For.
Thank you. And therefore that motion is carried.
Please be seated. Councillor Malcolm Colbrand, I now ask you to take the oath of office as the Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil. Will you please take the Bible in your right hand? Having been elected to the office of Mayor, I require you to make the declaration.
I, Malcolm Colbrand, of 36 High Street, Bedlinog, Treharris, CF 46 6RP, having been elected to the office of Mayor, hereby declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council, which may be revised from time to time.
Councillor Malcolm Colbrand, do you now sign the declaration? I will now countersign the declaration. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
John Thomas. John Thomas, I now ask you to take the oath of office as the Deputy Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil. Take the Bible in your right hand. Having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor, I require you to make the declaration.
I, John Thomas, of 4 Jones Terrace, Thomastown, Merthyr Tydfil, CF 47 0NT, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor, hereby declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment. I undertake to observe the code of the time being as the conduct which is expected of members of Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council, and which I may be revised from time to time.
Thank you. Councillor John Thomas, can I now ask you to sign the declaration? You sign the declaration on the top line there, please. Thank you. I will now countersign the declaration. Congratulations, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Address the council and your guests.
Brynondar Chryso. Distinguished guests, fellow councillors, officers of the council, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud and extremely honoured to be inaugurated as Mayor of the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil for 23-24. Thank you to Councillor Geraint Thomas for the nomination and to my ward colleague, Councillor Michelle Simmons, for seconding me. I would like to thank my fellow councillors for electing me for a second term. I realise this is highly unusual and due to my previous term being severely restricted by COVID, so I'm extremely grateful to everyone to be given this opportunity again. And thank you to Nicola for agreeing to be my consort once again. My chaplain, Father Gareth Coombs, unfortunately can't be with us tonight. As those of him who know him will be aware, Father Gareth is suffering from some health issues, and I'm sure you'd all like to join me in wishing him well. And I'm grateful to the Reverend Caroline Owen for agreeing to step in this evening. Hi, Jane. It's me again. Your worst nightmare. As Declan's already mentioned, Jane is the one who makes sure the mayor is in the right place at the right time with everything they need to make sure the events go smoothly. She's highly organised and extremely efficient. I'm the exact opposite. disorganised, forgetful, and always running late. So you're going to have your work cut out keeping me in line again, Jane. I'd like to support two charities close to my heart this year. First, Friends of Greenfield. The charity is separate from the school, and through its fundraising, it provides much needed support and equipment to the students, which the school wouldn't otherwise be able to afford. And it's a pleasure to welcome Alison Hamer and Andrew Crowson from the charity as my guests here this evening. Secondly, I'd like to support For Tom again this year. For Tom was established by Bedlinog residents Nicola and Andrew Smurden following the loss of their son Tom. It arranges and funds one-to-one counselling for anyone experiencing suicidal thoughts or has made suicide attempts. They educate communities on issues surrounding suicide via a myriad of information outlets such as leaflets, social media, short films, podcasts and signposting. They work with the organisation supporting young people with mental health issues and are a founding member of the COAC Alliance, who highlight the dangers of mixing cocaine and alcohol. It's been 20 years since I moved from Sussex to take over the post office in Bedlinog, and 6 years since I first had the honour of being elected to represent Bedlinog and True Lewis on Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council. And while I'll always be proud of my Sussex roots, I'm equally proud to be an honorary Welshman, Merthyr Tydfilian. The 20 years have flown by, and Merthyr Tydfil is now a major tourist destination, attracting visitors from across the world to facilities such as the Doligare Outdoor Adventure Centre, Bike Park Wales, and in my own ward, Rock UK. Merthyr Tydfil is a gateway to the Brecon Beacons National Park, and Zip World is just across the border in Rhondda and Taff. There are exciting plans for the Cyfarthfa Heritage Area, and while we can all be rightly proud of Merthyr Tydfil's past and the role it played in the Industrial Revolution, we now look forward to attracting new businesses and more visitors and being part of a new green revolution. So during my year in office, I'll be doing all I can to promote Merthyr Tydfil to the outside world and celebrating our successes. So in conclusion, I'd like to propose a vote of thanks to Councillor Declan Salmon for being such a fantastic ambassador for Merthyr Tydfil during his term of office, along with his consort, Councillor Paul Delaney. Oh, over there. You've moved. I know you worked extremely hard representing the borough over the last year, Dec, and you can enjoy your retirement now. Congratulations also to the new Deputy Mayor, Councillor John Thomas, and his consort, Debbie. And finally, may I thank you all for coming today, and I look forward to seeing some of you in the evening reception later on at Merthyr Tydfil Golf Club, Kazanis. Thank you.
Finally, Mr. Mayor, we'd now like to present a bouquet to the outgoing consort, Councillor Paula Leighton. Jane's. Oh, Jane's got that.
Okay. Yep. Next item on the agenda is item number 5, to agree appointments to committee 23-24. Consider a report of the Chief Executive. I'm not sure who's proposing this report. Councillor Andrew Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appointment to committees 2023-24. So this is the annual confirmation of appointments to members and co-opted members to our various committees with adherence to the various legislative requirements outlined in section 3 and in compliance with the authority's constitution. Cabinet appointments are outlined at section 4 and remain as the previous municipal year. Our scrutiny committee appointments are at section 5. 5.1. Corporate Support and Resource Scrutiny Committee, chaired by Councillor Brent Carter, with all the named deputy committee members and co-opted members listed. There are 2 co-opted positions available at the moment. I only mention the vacancies, Mr. Mayor, as an opportunity to say to the public, if they wish to be involved in these particular areas of the democratic process, then please contact us through the website or any of the ward councillors. 5.2, Neighbourhood Services, Countryside and Planning Scrutiny, chaired by Councillor David Jones with 1 vacancy for a co-opted member. 5.3, Regeneration and Public Protection Scrutiny, chaired by Councillor Lee Davis. 5.4, Learning and Local Government Education Services Committee, chaired by Councillor Lisa Mitten, has 3 vacant co-opted member positions. Social Services Scrutiny Chair, chaired by Louise Minute-Vokes, and has 4 co-opted member vacancy positions. We also outline the makeup of the Joint Scrutiny Committee, Combined Governance and Audit Committee and Joint Scrutiny Committee, all of which are combinations of our outlined scrutiny functions between 5.6 and 5.7. Our Governance and Audit Committee is outlined at Section 6, formed from the relatively new legislation from 2001, where one of the 3 lay members will chair. The Standards Committee, chaired by Mel Jehu, has its members outlined in Section 8. The Planning, Regulatory and Licensing Committee will transfer chair to Councillor Declan Salmon, with our thanks to Clive Tovey, who's become deputy chair after a very effective year of tenure as chair of the Planning Committee. The remaining licensing subcommittee, statutory licensing committee, statutory licensing subcommittee, right through away appeals and objections, and appeals committee are dealt with between 9.2 and 10.2. The recommendations, Mr. Mayor, 2.1, the appointment of members to cabinet be noted. 2.2, the appointment of members to committees as contained within the report be accepted. The quorum of the Corporate Support Resources Scrutiny Committee to be at least half the councillor membership of the committee eligible to be present be approved. 2.4, the amendment of the Constitution to effect the change to the quorum be approved. 2.5, the granting of delegated authority to the political leaders to amend membership of the committees in line with political balanced rules in the Local Government and Housing Act 1989. And these amendments be updated on the council's website to be approved. I move, Mr. Mayor.
A seconder, please.
Second motion, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any questions? No one is indicating. Are there any comments? Councillor Darren Roberts.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just making you aware that Councillor Anna Williams-Price has had to leave the meeting. She couldn't give her apologies because it was in the recess when you were exchanging memorabilia and things. So yeah, I'm just letting you making you aware of that because she won't be online to cast her vote. Thank you.
Roberts, I'll hand you over to Caris to conduct a vote on this then, please.
Thank you. If everybody who has access to a console can use their console, and then if I can ask those in the Civic Party, can I ask Councillor Paula Layton, are you voting for, against or abstaining? Thank you. Councillor Declan Salmon, for, against. Thank you. Councillor John Thomas. Thank you. And Councillor Malcolm Colbrand. Thank you. And that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Item 6, to agree committee cycle 23-24 is an information report, as is item 7 to agree. No, it's not. Sorry, beg your pardon. Oh, sorry, these are committee reports. Beg your pardon. So, Councillor Andrew Barry again. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These are the committee cycle, report for the municipal year. Very straightforward report suggesting the timings of the various meetings in relation to the operating of various council functions in accordance with legislation and our own constitution. There is an element of flexibility in relation to the cycle, as we've seen over the last municipal year. I'll go straight to the recommendations. 2.1, the committee cycle for the 23-24 municipal year be approved. And 2.2, the provisional committee cycle for 24-25 municipal year be approved. I move the recommendations for the committee cycle, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Councillor,
Second the motion.
are there any comments? Sorry, questions, beg your pardon. Any comments? No, hand you over to Karis then, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if I just take the vote for the people who are present, Councillor John Thomas, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Declan Salmon.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Paula Layton. Thank you. And Mr. Mayor.
For.
Thank you. And that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So the next item is item number 7, to agree representations to other outside bodies 23-24. To consider a report of the Chief Executive. Councillor Andrew Barry again, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Representatives to other bodies, in a similar vein to the previous reports, this is to confirm members' appointments as champions in specific areas and their representative roles at outside bodies. There are multiple bodies who require the attendance of elected members. We will continue to monitor the relevance of every representative role councillors undertake. We'll do this with all elected members to ensure that their representative time is spent in a relevant and effective manner. If there are any issues with the information presented here, can members first of all bring them to the attention of the respective political leaders to enable coordinated response by officers to the Chief Executive at their earliest convenience and throughout the municipal year as per recommendation. The recommendations are 2.1, 2.2, 2.1, the representation set out in paragraph 6 of the report be accepted, and 2.2, delegated authority be granted to the political leaders to nominate replacement representatives to any vacant unfilled post, and the agreed nomination be supplied to the Chief Executive to be approved. I move the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Geraint Thomas.
Second the recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No questions. Any comments, please? No comments, Karis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So again, if I can ask those who aren't accessing a console, Councillor John Thomas, are you voting for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Declan Salmon.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Paula Layton.
For.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor.
For.
Thank you. Short of Councillor Galsworthy. There we are. I think that registered, didn't it? Yes. So that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Right, I was getting ahead of myself before. The next item, item 8, is an information report to consider annual report from champions and representatives about other bodies. Item 9 is to deal with any other urgent business or correspondence. There is none. Item number 10 is to receive communications received by His Worship the Mayor. Simon?
Mr. Mayor, yes, we have apologies from Gerald Jones MP, Dawn Bowden AM, Freeman of the County Borough Sir Stanley Thomas, Professor Sir Mansell Aylward, and Lord Ted Rowlands.
Thank you. That's the end of the agenda for the meeting. So I would now ask you all to stand, and the Reverend Caroline Owen will close the meeting in prayer for us.
We ask you to empower us with strength, prepare our hands for the duties ahead. As this meeting concludes, we pray for unity in our common goals and the next measures that must be taken. Clarity about what must be accomplished in the coming days and weeks. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the civic party to leave.